Welcome to my channel. Thank you. My name is Dwyan. Today we got a big title, man. This is a big title. We gotta deal with this one. How Black Americans get power in America. How Black Americans get power in America. Period. Point blank. Simple. The answer actually is very simple, but how you do it, that's a whole nother story. So I'll say that right off the bat. So the way I'm going to break this down, I'm going to break this down into like three different areas. So the first area is I'm going to look at the word power and identify where the power areas are in America, and where I think Black Americans should be focusing their attention on getting that power, which is very important. Okay. And then secondly, looking at, do Black Americans, are they represented? Do they have representatives in these places of power that advocate, speak on their behalf? Okay. So that's very important. Okay. If the answer is yes, then and they do, and it's adequate, and we can move on. That'll be the end of the video. But spoiler alert, that's not going to be the end, because obviously I know what the information is, and I'm really going to put a case forward that Black Americans do not currently have power in America. Okay, so that'll be part two, and then the final part is answering this question. If that's the case, then how do Black Americans get power in America? And hopefully we can get all that lashed out. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Yeah, I like this title slide, man. I like this one. This one is I'm in love with it. AI, baby. So we talk about the issue of power. Power is very important, right? In any society, power is very important. As Dr. Amos Wilson said, when he was talking about this issue of power, he said that power is ultimately about a relationship between two or more people, and it's about leveraging, negotiation, reasoning, whatever the terms may be. That power, there's a relationship power. You can see it with all the countries in the world. There's about 250, 60 countries in the world. And they all interact with each other and represent each other and make really these power relationships and have these power dynamics between them. So power is a very important, critical aspect of any group of people, so that they can live their lives the way they want to, and they can be the manifest of their destiny. Okay, so it's very important. So in America, then, where does power lie? Where is power? Well, we learn in school that it is in the Supreme Court, it is in the executive, which is the presidency, and that it is in Congress. Okay, some people will say what's the term again? The military-industrial complex is another arm of the government, and probably to the security state and all that. Anyway, that's going off the point. But let's stay with the Constitution and where the founding fathers gave the power through the Constitution. You look up here, you see the map. This is the senatorial, the governors, and the presidential map, the election results. And as you can see, I think the first thing, if you look at the maps closely, you'll see that regardless of whether it is a Senate race, a governor's race, or a presidential race, you can see that the map of America is pretty much similar in all three. Very predictable, right? you can see very clearly, no matter what the race, that the Republicans are in the middle of the country, the Midwest and the South, Southeast, and the Democrats are in the West and East, the flanks, the coasts, as well as the Northeast. You know, so it's a very distinct map all the way around. Now, what I'm putting forward is that these are the three big areas of power in America. These are very, very important powers. This is just what my opinion, you know. Particularly, I should also say political power, right? Political power, okay? So political power is all about the numbers, okay? And that's the thing that I'm going to present here in this presentation, is that it's all about the numbers. Everything has to do with the numbers, okay? So listen to this first number and keep this in mind as we go through this presentation, right? Black Americans account for 14% of the United States population, right? Roughly 40 million people out of 330 million people. So roughly about 14% of the population. Very important number to keep in mind as we move forward to this, right? So this is the population as a whole, with 14%. So therefore, being 14% on the presidential elections, on the presidential races, it'll be very difficult for us to, produce a president, right? Just on the sheer numbers of just being 14%. So, for the purposes of this presentation, I want to not focus on the presidential race or presidential power or the executive branch, right? For that reason. Remember, it's all about the numbers. We're 14% on a federal level. We're 14%. We cannot really produce a president. We can vote, of course, and we can decide who's won. But at 14%, we cannot produce a president on our own, right? And ultimately, power is about enabling, you know? And the real power is not that the real power is the power to actually elect people just amongst Black people, right? So that we put these people in power, okay? And I'm jumping ahead a little bit of myself, but let's get back to this. So you might say, okay, well, where's the Supreme Court? Well, the president determines who the Supreme Court justices are. So for now, we forget about the Supreme Court and the president, right? So we left with the two top ones, which is the senator and the governors. You might say, where's the House of Representatives? Again, once Black Americans take care of the Senate and the governorship, the House of Representatives will kind of take care of itself. So I'm not too worried about that. So the two big places that I believe Black Americans need to really move in and hone in on is on the senators and the governors. We have to elect senators and governors. And there's only one way to do it, and I'll show you that at the end of this. So we're looking at the senators and the governors. Let's look at the senators first, okay? What do senators do? The U.S. Senator, power and influence, bringing federal funds. I'd like to start with saying, first of all, that the senator represents their state at the national level. That's the representation, the second one there. They also can secure federal funding for projects and programs in their state, leading to economic development, infrastructure improvements, and job creation. So this is very important. You know, these are all the things that Black Americans want. We want job creation, we want infrastructure improvements, we want economic development, and most Black people will not mind if it's in a totally Black community. Okay? Lawmaking. Senators participate in the creation and acting of federal laws. Oversight. Senators have the responsibility of overseeing government agencies and ensuring they are accountable. So senators are very important. And remember, there's only 100 of them. 100, that's it, out of a population of 333 million. So Senators are very, very, very important and very, very, very powerful. Okay, and it's very important if Black Americans want power, they must try to generate senators. Okay, how many senators? Well, there's 100 senators. Okay, we're 14% of the population. We need to aim for 14 senators. You know, and 14 senators, believe me, 14 senators that we as Black people elect and put into office, and they're accountable to us and us only. Those 14 senators will be very effective. And if they're not, we'll send them back home and we'll put another 14. That is power. You know, we have to make sure that we get these 14. And of course, I chose 14 because it's fair. We're 14% of the population. We should have 14% of the senatorial power. You know, it makes sense, right? And that's something that we need to aim for. So how many senators do we have? Okay, come on. What do you guys think? How many senators do we have here in the United States? Huh? 1, 2, 7, 10, 15. There are 100 senators. Well, I'll tell you, we have 4. And these are the 4 right here. 4 out of 100 senators are Black Americans in 2023. Okay? And there's some very interesting stats at the bottom there. You see 21 out of 100 senators are white women. 2 are Hawaiian women, and 73 out of the 100 senators are white men. Okay? And I went and I checked all their pictures, and I verified this personally, you know. That information, I'm not Wikipedia, you know, they have a link. And you can see their pictures. So you can see that 94 of the senators are white. Let that sink in, you know. And we have 4 Black ones. Now, I want to also get into this a little bit, because just because someone is Black, okay, doesn't mean that they support the agenda of Black people, Black Americans in this country. Okay. Just because they're Black, it doesn't mean they're gonna give it a priority and focus on it. So we can't just say that, oh, they're Black, therefore they represent us. You see, I think that would be a mistake. So let's see really if any of these 4 senators actually represent Black people. Remember, there's only 4 to begin with. So now we're going to see, are any of them going to fall on the wayside? And now it won't be 4, it'll be 3 or 2 or 1. Who's going to be left? Let's start with Tim Scott. Tim Scott, here's his quote when he won. While I recognize the efforts of the CBC, that is the Congressional Black Caucus, and appreciate their invitation for me to caucus with them, I will not be joining at this time, Scott said. My campaign was never about race. He's telling you right there. And he's a Republican, so, you know, he definitely didn't win because of Black people. You know, because Black people generally do not vote Republican, although I think that is changing. So clearly he's saying his campaign is never about race. And again, I'm not going to fault him, because, you know, those Black people were not the people that brought him into power. And that is really the power, the ability to select and elect senators and governors. And Black people did not put this man as a senator. And therefore, you cannot expect him to fight for Black issues, the Black agenda. As I said earlier, reparations is right there at one of the top ones for Black people. Okay? So basically, Tim Scott is out. You know, he's out. So now we're down to 3 senators. let's check out Laphonza Butler. Now, Laphonza Butler is very new. She came last month, October 1, 2023. California Governor Gavin Newsom chose Butler to fill the U.S. Senate seat left vacant by the death of Dianne Feinstein, thus fulfilling his pledge to appoint a black woman to the office. So don't jump on me for being on this whole black, white, black, white. He pledged, a white man, Gavin Newsom, he pledged to appoint a black woman to the office. And you see, this is what they do. And it's to fool us, but don't fall for it. Just because they put a black face in front of you doesn't mean that that person represents you. And you just have to look at, number one, their resume, their history. You have to look at certain things and you can see it. That they're not going to put it as a priority. It doesn't mean we don't like them. They're still part of the black community. They live amongst us and we love them and all that type of thing. But they cannot prioritize black Americans because black Americans did not put them in. That is the key thing that I want everyone here to understand when they're watching this. So basically, where does that leave us with Laphonza Butler? She's out. And plus, she's new. We haven't seen anything yet. The other thing is, as you can see at the bottom there, she became the first openly LGBT member of the U.S. Senate from California and its first black LGBT member. Okay? And I bet you she's going to do more for LGBT than, and she has a right to, than black people, So, but it's just proving my point that, I would take these two out immediately. So we no longer have 4 senators, 4 black people. We have 2 left. Let's take a look at them. Before we let's go to Cory Booker. Cory Booker is interesting. A lot of people will know him. He ran for president in 2020. Did he run for president? Yes, I think he ran for president, or the Democratic nomination. So Cory Booker is very, very interesting. Let's take a look at Cory Booker. Okay. Cory Booker, first of all, he's the first African-American U.S. Senator from Germany. Again, a face, okay? So we need to consider this. Now, the reason why I put those results, remember I said this is all about the numbers, okay? Let's go a little forward more to prove that his interests are not aligned with black Americans, with the majority of black Americans. His priorities is not. And again, it's for the same reason as the others. We didn't put them there. Other people put them there. Non-black Americans put them there. So their loyalties cannot go strictly to us. We hope that they do, but really they can't. Plus they're part of the Democratic machine. Let's not forget that. The Democrats, I don't know what they're doing. But anyway, the important number there is the total number of votes in this Senate election. You see is 4.4 million. Let's remember that. Now, let's look at Cory Booker. He's from New Jersey. So let's check out New Jersey eligible voting population. The population is 9 million. The population under 18 years is 21%, which equals 2 million. So we have to subtract that. And then 1 million people are not a citizen. We have to subtract that. We get 6 million. That is the eligible voting population in the state of New Jersey, 6 million. So when we go back to Cory Booker, we see that 4.4 million of them, so basically 1.6 million didn't vote, Now, why am I showing you this? Well, let's look at the black vote in New Jersey. So if we go over to New Jersey, we look at blacks versus the rest. The population, blacks, 1.1 million in New Jersey. Under 18 years, of course we do, I should have mentioned we do under 18 years because obviously you cannot vote if you're under 18 years. So we have to take 250 out of the 1.1 million so that we just end up with the eligible voting population. You see there, which is 850,000 people. Again, we divide that by the 4.4 million, which is how many people voted in the Cory Booker election, and we see that blacks account for 19%. Why is this significant? It's significant because as you can see, even if all 19% of Black Americans in New Jersey voted for Cory Booker, it would not be enough. He would still need a lot more, to get to that 50, double almost, more votes from somewhere else, and therefore those people he would have to look out for their interests. You see, so I don't blame him. That's just the way he is. That's the democratic machine. So in other words, we did not elect this man, even though he is Black. Some of us voted for him, yes, but we didn't put him in office. Non-Black Americans put him in office. Okay. So that's an important thing to understand. So again, if we go back, let's play this. I want to play a video real quick. And let's go here. I want you guys to listen carefully to this. This is very, very interesting.
Does Cory Booker have a specific...
So listen to the... Okay, this is the Breakfast Club. Shout out to the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne the God. Listen to what he says.
You can do this. Does Cory Booker have a specific agenda for Black people? And if so, what is it?
Does Cory Booker have a specific agenda for Black people? And if so, what is it? So you see, it's not only me talking about Black. This is a radio host on one of the most popular shows, The Breakfast Club. And that's what I love about Charlemagne the God, actually, because let me make sure this, no matter who comes on, he always asks them that question, whether they're white or they're Black. So he's not just picking on him because he's Black. But still, he's Black, so he wants to know from him, what are the specific, listen to what he says.
Look, man, I as an African-American, as a Black person.
Okay, he acknowledges he's Black.
So much of the realities for all Americans, if you look at through the lens of African-Americans, they've been in many ways the conscience of this country from its founding. When we said we were going to be a nation of liberty and justice for all, the African-American experience challenged the inadequacy of those words when it meant reality.
Are you kidding me? What the hell are you saying?
And so right now, you pick an issue.
No, you tell us an issue.
Maternal mortality rates, to incarceration, the broken criminal justice system, to access.
Okay, the broken criminal justice system, right?
You see African Americans having worse outcomes, and you address the issues of Americans, power African Americans, the very promise of America becomes real. And let me give you an example of this, a very specific example, because politicians give platitudes all the time.
Yes. So you admit you've been giving platitudes up to now. You haven't answered the question. You can see Charlemagne the God. You can see on his face, he's like, okay, what, are you answering my question, or are you just platituding?
One of the main reasons I didn't shy away from it, my pollsters told me it wasn't a big issue on the minds of New Jerseyans, but I ran telling people I was going to Washington to do something about mass incarceration.
He said he's going to Washington to do something about mass incarceration. Okay, what are you going to do, Senator Booker?
And they said, well, it's not a big issue, but we came down there, and for years, I've been a senator for over 5 years.
They said it's not a big issue, right? I bet you they weren't Black.
I worked, and just last Congress, we finally got a bill done. Now, it doesn't solve the problem, but it's
Of course it doesn't solve the problem. I mean, I could have told you that, Cory. Of course, it doesn't solve the problem. So are you interested in solving the problem?
First time in our lifetime, after the prison population going up 500%, between the time I was in law school and the time I was mayor of Newark, we were building a new prison in this country like every 10 days.
Okay, you see, all he's doing is telling us the problems. We're asking, what are you going to do specifically to address those problems?
Finally, we have legislation that I was able to get done with people on the other side of the aisle that starts tearing down the institution of mass incarceration. So much of my life is
How is it going to tear down the institution of mass incarceration? Don't tell me about your life. Tell me about how it's going to tear down the institution of mass incarceration.
About where I live. I'm the only United States senator who lives in an inner city community, Black and brown community, below the poverty line.
By choice.
By choice.
By the way, and how
because you never forget the people that
So what if you're living next to black people or low income people? I mean, so what?
got you first into office. My very first office, I was city councilman in the Central Ward of Newark. They took a chance on me. I was this kid from the suburbs, coming from Yale Law School.
Kid from the suburbs.
And this is a community that put their faith in me. And
Rhodes Scholar, Harvard Law School. Hey, no, not Harvard. I think it was Yale Law School. He's just a kid from the suburbs.
I will not lose the focus of what got me into politics in the first place. The people and the urgencies that got me to run.
Yo, this is platitudes, man. This is you're not even answering the question. You even turn your body away from Charlemagne. Check what's gonna happen now.
So you have a specific agenda for these black people.
I have a specific.
Do you have a specific agenda for these black people? Charlemagne says. You see what I'm saying? Charlemagne's like, yo, you haven't answered the question. Let me just roll back a little bit here, not too much. I love the way Charlemagne asked that question, man.
These black people.
I have a specific agenda for the American people.
Sorry, guys. I got to see Charlemagne ask that question again.
People and the urgencies that got me to run for office.
So you have a specific agenda for these black people.
I have a specific agenda for the American people, which.
Okay, you heard what he said? I have a specific agenda for the American people. You see? It's not a priority. I'm telling you.
Includes uplifting black people.
Yeah, but it's inseparable.
They always say rising tide lift all boats. We don't really see that in our communities.
Well, let me give you an example. I have a bill that got a lot of attention called
a bill.
Baby bonds. It's a fancy name for saying that every person born in America should have an account created for them, thousands of dollars put in over time, $1,000 a time. And at the end, if you are low-income American, you give up to $50,000.
Okay, this one, look, don't be fooled by this, guys. These baby bonds, I've heard them before. Don't be fooled by them. It's just a way of them, because it helps everybody, okay? It helps everybody. Yes, it's true they're going to give more to people at the low income. But you see, this is just... That's fine, but that has nothing to do with reparations. You know, that's what people don't understand. Reparations is about a debt that is owed to foundational Black Americans. All right, people just don't get it. You know, they say, oh, we can do this. We can do baby bonds. I mean, you should be doing the baby bonds anyway.
That addresses all Americans, but it actually helps the racial wealth gap.
Okay, I'm not going to go any further with that, but I think you get the picture that basically, what am I saying? This is what I'm saying. Let me close this one. Cory Booker is not going to prioritize the black agenda, which is reparations, which is right there at number one. Okay, those of you who don't think reparations is number one, you haven't been checking out the black agenda, you know. But I'm saying on this video, we must attain power, and we're getting to that very strongly. The last person here is Raphael Warnock, right? Let's take a look at Raphael. Now, Raphael Warnock, again, about 4 million people voting. If we check the eligible voting in Georgia, he's from Georgia. It's 11 million people. Population under 18 years is 23%. That's 2.5 million. The population that's not a citizen, because obviously citizens cannot vote, 500,000. That leaves 8 million eligible voting at the highest possible, right? It's probably a lot lower than that, but 8 million we'll take right now. Then remember the 8 million. Then if we take the Black population in Georgia, it's 3.3 million. We reduce the population under 18 years of 800,000. We get 2.5 million, 2.5 to 8, 31%, much better than 19. You know, I would still like to see it get much higher, but it's still very good. So we can kind of see why Warner would come, you know, why a Black senator from Georgia would emerge. Now, here's one thing we got to understand about the state of Georgia. In the last 5 elections, not including the most recent one, 2020, but in the 5 before that, all the way back to 2000, Georgia was a red state. Georgia was Republican. Biden broke that. by winning Georgia and Arizona, by the way. But he won Georgia. So, is Georgia now a purple state? It's definitely a battleground state, and a lot of black people have been moving into Georgia, so, and even his Republican opponent was black, Herschel Walker, black, so this is an example of how blacks can really become senators and governors, but we're going to get into that in a minute. Okay, let's just deal with this first. So if we go back to our 4 black senators, I would argue 3 of them, yes, they're black, we love them and all that, we accept them, but they're not going to prioritize the agenda, the black agenda. They're not going to be for black people because we didn't put them there. Raphael Warnock, 30%, 32% of Georgia is black, but there's still 70 or 68% on the other side. So you're still a sort of minority there, but the 30 is healthy. You can definitely have a say and have an impact on things. But I feel that number really has to be closer to 50 and even beyond 50 to really sort of capture that state in the manner in which I think would be effective for Black Americans. Okay, let's look at the governors. We can see with the governor, their power and influence there. You guys can read it in your own time. I'll talk a little bit, you can read it. Okay, now let me just read it to you. Executive authority, right? Governors are the chief executives of their states with the power to enforce state laws, manage state agencies, and make executive decisions. Very, very important. Budget and financial control, emergency powers. Ron DeSantis, for example, during COVID, the Florida governor, I think he's running for president now. I don't know whether people followed, but he was a governor who was doing things his own way and not like everybody else, but I just bring that up to show that, governors really have jurisdiction over their particular states and they can control the states how they want to. And I think that's very important. I think states' rights is something that Black people need to go back to be quite honest with you. I know that it's been associated with the Confederacy, but I think that, anyway, I'm going to get to that point in the final part of the video where I talk about how do we actually get power. And then, of course, legislative influence. Okay, they can use their veto power to shape election, negotiate. So these are very powerful positions. I mean, these are very, very powerful positions. So next question, how many Black governors are there? And of those Black governors, how many of them did we put there? Or how many of them did non-Black Americans put there? That's also a big question. But how many governors are there? How many Black governors are there in America? 2023, October, November now. Come on, guys. What do you think? Take a guess. Take a guess. I'm going to show you the slide in a minute. How many? How many? How many? How many? Boom. 1. And he just came this year, by the way. Some other interesting facts there. 10 out of 50 governors are white women. Okay. 39 out of 100 senators are white men. Sorry, that's a misprint. That should be 50 governors. 39 out of 50 governors are white men. Sorry about that. 10 out of 50 governors are white women, right? So 49 of the 50 governors are white. Okay, and of course, I know we're not supposed to look at color. The world is changing and we're all diverse and everything like that. Yeah, but 49 of the governors are white. And remember, 94 of the senators are white, men and women, white. So let's bear that in mind when we're talking about not seeing color and all that stuff. So we have one governor. Who's this guy? Well, he's the governor of Maryland. And Maryland is an interesting state. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Maryland. Again, the eligible voting population in America, in Maryland, the population is 6 million. The population under 18 is 22%, which is 1.3 million. Not a citizen, 400. Eligible voting population is 4.3 million. Okay? So let's remember the 4.3 million. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Maryland blacks, 1.8 million. Population under 18, 400,000. We get 1.4 million. 1.4 million divided by 4.3 million equals 32%. Right? You know, I would argue that, you know, that's good. You know, we got a black governor, you know, fair enough, you know, but 1 in 3 people in Maryland are black, you know, so blacks have a little something more there, you know. Maryland and Georgia are like in the top 3 or 4 states with the highest percentage of blacks. I'm going to show that chart in a few minutes. Okay, so that's what we have here with the governor. You know, so again, I don't know much about Westmore, and you know, like I said, he just came in this year, so we'll see what he's doing. You know, I'll definitely keep track of him and see, you know, really what he's doing. But I'm a little bit more hopeful with a black governor from Maryland and Georgia than other places. A black governor from Maryland and a senator from Georgia, because Georgia and Maryland, they have about 1 in 3 people there are black, right? So blacks are strong there. So you're gonna, you know, I'm more hopeful with those blacks than the ones in New Jersey and California and everything, because definitely someone else put them in, and their priorities are not going to be towards us, the black Americans. Okay. So we're going to go into, just make sure I got everything here. I hope you guys are getting some good points on this. I just want to recap really quickly. I don't want to keep you guys hanging anymore, you know, as to what's going to go on. But basically, we looked at power. We looked at where power is in the United States. I said where I think the two places where black people need to really get power. And again, it's the numbers game. We're only 14% of the population. So what should we be trying to do? Well, now we're going to go to, I just want to make sure I got everything. I think I did. We're going to go here. Now, ignore the red for a minute, okay? I'm sorry if you have to squint your eyes or something like that, but I think it's easy to see it like this sometimes, you know? So what do we have here? We have, in column A, we have all the 50s, or all the states, right? In column B, we have the total population of the state. And then we have the black population of the state. And then I said, well, what's the percentage of black population in the state? And then I created a filter to rank it. And you can see at the top is the highest. DC has the highest black population percentage, right? These are not total population. These are the percentage of blacks compared to the total population, okay? So as you can see, DC is 41%. I mean, DC always goes Democrat, you know, and that could be definitely part of the reason, you know, for it, you know, if blacks are 41% of DC, wow, okay. Actually, that was a surprise to me. I didn't realize that. I know that there was a lot, but I didn't realize that it would be number 1. And then you see we have Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, Maryland, South Carolina, Alabama, Delaware, and blah, blah, blah. And this is the problem with Black America right now in terms of political power. You know, and maybe that's the power I should emphasize more rather than just using the general term power. But political power, this is what right here is what is wrong with Black America. We are spread too thin. I want to point out here, if you look at these ones down here, they have 0. there's probably not zero in these places. It's probably just, you know, the number is too low to even count maybe. But it's just funny how in these places, Alaska, Hawaii, Idaho, Maine, Montana, and New Hampshire, is like there's no black people here. No one who called themselves African, American, or black. I don't know. Maybe it was just too low a number to count, you know? But anyway, this is the problem. We are spread too thin. So here's the answer to the question of how can Black Americans gain power in America, okay? And the way that they can do it is we need to migrate into fewer states. Now, that's where the red comes in. I suggest we go into these states: Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, Maryland, South Carolina, Alabama, and Delaware. Why? Because they're the highest states right now, as you can see here. They are the US states with the highest percentage of Black Americans. In other words, we're more likely, because we have such a large population, we're more likely in these states to produce senators and governors. You know, this is a key point. But right now, even though it's good, okay, fine, we have a governor now from Maryland, okay, but we're still only at 30%. That's why I'm saying what we need to do is actually leave these other states where we have so little percentages and we have no power in those states. And we need to move back. It's a numbers game now. We got to play the numbers game and we got to move into these states. Now, I want to show you something. I played a little game here, you know. So the 7 states, as you can see here on the screen, sorry that it's so small, but the 7 states that I put in red above here, the ones that I'm suggesting that Black Americans move to in order to attain political power, accounts for about 12 million African Americans, 12 million Black Americans, right? That means that 27 million, more than double, is outside of these 7 states. So I did a little thing. I said, well, okay, what if 10%, you know, left those states and moved into Mississippi? You know, how many is that? 2.7 million. As you can see, we would jump up to 43%. We'll almost be half the state, you know? Now, okay, wait, hold on. We'll be more than half the state. No, what I did here is I put everything, I split it equally, you know? So I split this 2.7 million equally into the states, which is why you then have this increase here. But it's still a significant increase. You know, if 50% of us left all those other states and moved into these 7 states, look at this. We would dominate Mississippi. We would definitely, and it's not about making a Black person governor. It could be a white person, because even at 61%, there's still 39% of someone else, you know? But the point is, we will elect that person. And we can elect a white person, a Mexican, a Native American, Asian. It doesn't matter. It's not about the color of the skin. It is about who is for the agenda of Black Americans, in my opinion. Okay, but you can see here that it would greatly, and that's if, you know, everybody moved equal amounts into all the states. Obviously, in reality, we would focus on 1 or 2 states, or maybe 3 states at the most, but maybe 1 or 2 first, and get those moving, or actually do 1 first and make it a model, and then replicate it in other states. Now, why do I say 7 states? Well, because remember, we're 14% of the population, right? So there are 50 states. So 14% of 50 is 7, right? 14% of 50 is 7. So that's why I'm saying the 7 states, which will give us 7 senators and 7 governors that we put in as black people. And if we don't like them, we take them out immediately. You know? So for me, this is the strategy, ladies and gentlemen. This is the strategy for black Americans to get power in America. We must produce senators and we must produce governors. And the only way we can do that is by not diluting our population, but going back and remigrating, or whatever the word is, migrating back into these states. Look, let me tell you something. These states that have the most black people also happen to be the ancestral home of foundational black Americans. You know, these are holy, hallowed grounds, and we should go back and reap the benefits of these states. We should go back. It makes sense to go to these states too, because they're amongst the highest. As you can see here, they're amongst the highest in terms of the percentage of black Americans in them. You know, I would put more emphasis here on, let me just make sure this audio is working. I would put more emphasis, obviously, on all the other ones except Georgia, but some people will still move into Georgia, and that's fine. But put emphasis on the other ones simply because the populations are lower, and we can, you know, we want to get above 50% at least. And in one or two states, much more. It's very important for black Americans, I believe, to control states. With 14% of the population, that's the best we can do. Control states. And if we can control 7 states and have 7 governors and 14 senators pushing our agenda, we're gonna have a much more powerful impact. You know, I know we're still living in this sort of this oppressive system of white supremacy. You know, let's be straight, but we have to play, you know, chess here. You know, and it's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. Let's go back to the title slide. It sounds like I'm starting to waffle. I think I've made the point. Let me just recap and say goodbye. Thank you all for watching again. I hope you found it useful. You know, I'm not the first person to come up with this, the idea of remigrating back into the states, because after the Civil War in 1870 or 1865, right? The majority of black people were in these very states that I'm saying that we should go back to. Not all of them, but most of them, right? Which is why there's still a high percentage of black Americans in those states today. So it's very important, in my opinion, that we regroup and move into these states and dominate 7 states. It's very, very important, you know, for black America. So with that, thank you very much for listening. I just want to say that, you know, I plan to do these types of analysis. If you found it useful and, you know, you got something out of it, then please do subscribe. Please do like. I'm kind of a newcomer here, so I guess I got to push myself a little bit. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Until then, take care.